योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचा मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोतं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि। ॐ ह्रीं श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। Hi Vanitha.
Hi Sujatha ma'am. Good morning.
Morning.
Today the topic is about women and the kind of challenges women face in this world and how yoga and Ayurveda can offer support to the present today's women.
I think it's a good time that we are discussing this because at BYVK we are having a series called SakhyaM running, and at ArogyaM we are bringing in a program called Shakti. Now, I'm a woman, you're a woman, and this is not to take away any importance away from the male, but the word itself, you see, woman, the man is included in it, right?
Yeah.
So, in any species, there is a coming together of the male and the female, which makes development of that species all the more important. Now, today we are at a kind of a crossroad where more and more men are made to take, some because they want to, and some out of the necessity. The roles are getting a little kind of spread out. A woman does more manly chores and the man does more womanly chores. Now that in itself, what happens is that there becomes about a hormonal imbalance. So essentially to function as a man, we need this amount of hormones. And to essentially function as a woman, we need this amount of feminine hormones. But because of the way we are being brought up, the way we are addressing society, addressing life, a little more aggressiveness is creeping into a woman's life. And similarly, a lot more docility is creeping into the man's life. What does it bring about? More feminine hormones in the man and more masculine hormones in the woman. Now, a very simple example I'll show, I would like to tell you from modern statistics is that baldness has become a kind of a commonality in women, which was never there, you know. Similarly, you will see that a lot of thyroid imbalances are there in men, which was usually not there. So basically, there is a certain crossover that is happening, which is the reason. So, of course, this is the need of the hour. So we need to alter our lives a little to adjust to both. It does not mean that we give up. No. This has come to stay. We have to function like this in a man's world, and a man has to function in the woman's world. So we now bring in a new balance. So how we do it, maybe we can explore.
Yeah, thank you for bringing up this very interesting point. Even as you know, in the yoga philosophy, they always mention about presence of both masculine and feminine aspects or energies in both men and women. They don't segregate as something which is the characteristics which are present only in men or those which are present only in women. It's about balancing both the characteristics in each human being. So somewhere like what you mentioned, even in women, like you rightly mentioned.
Can I intervene? Yeah. See, there is a balance, but it's not equal.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so what they mention is they are unique in their own way, and the whole aspect of be it specific to yoga, if I have to say, it's about how they can utilize their unique characteristics or abilities to function effectively both in their personal space and professional space. Like you rightly mentioned, women exploring nowadays, today's women are exploring into the world outside, not just restricted to the responsibilities within the home. So they are taking on such very interesting and influencing roles in the world, be it in politics or education or any field. And it is very important that they don't compromise on the uniqueness which is inbuilt in them to function in the world outside. So that is where the concepts, what is brought forward in yoga and Ayurveda, I feel that it would definitely help them, both men and women, like you mentioned. Even though this conversation is focused on women, we are nowhere uh, ignoring the contribution of men. It's about how both can coexist and bring forth their best into the world outside.
So, Vanitha, before I begin answering that question, I think it would be nice if we throw some more light on yoga philosophy and Ayurveda.
Yes.
Because these are often used words in today's world, but not many people know the connect between it and why so, why we have this philosophy. So, in the yoga philosophy, the path to finding ourselves is by purifying the mind. Now, Ayurveda is derived, one aspect of Ayurveda is the yoga philosophy, but there is also purification of the body. Now, if you look at yoga per se, especially Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, it shows us a way forward. Okay, and there are of course little bit of practices. But when you look at diet, how to lead life, all that is more codified in Ayurveda. So now when you look at a man and a woman, the first thing that they say is, there is a concept called Agni Shoma. Have you heard that term?
Yes.
Yeah? So Agni is fire and Shoma is water. Whenever fire and water come together, there happens Srishti. That is the beginning of creation. The woman, incidentally, is Agni, not the other way. The man is the water. Now, if you look at, what is dispensed from the body, the man dispenses semen, which is cold, unctuous, and what is dispensed from the woman is blood, which is hot. Okay. Now, the only difference, as you said, between the physicality and physiology of a body, be it man or woman, the only thing missing or different is the crucible, which is the uterus. Now that makes all the difference because therein sits creation.
Yeah.
Man can never create. He can only contribute. So the same thing happens in all aspects of a man's life and a woman's life. This is something so simple, but yet we forget. Okay? So in Ayurveda, we say that every human being has 13 channels. We call it shrotas. So it's believed that we are very open-ended. That is why we are so taken in by emotions, by changes in the atmosphere, and so much transdermal treatment happens. Why? Because we are a very porous mass, even though we are not aware of it.
Yes.
So the 13th channel of a woman is called Artava Vaha Shrotas. Artava means menstrual, Vaha means carrier, Shrotas means channel. Now this one channel makes a woman absolutely stand apart from her male counterpart. So she has everything he has plus this. There is this one plus. Okay? So that doesn't mean she's superior. She has that much more responsibility. Unfortunately, we are kind of, teaching the generation, no, let them be equal, let them be equal. It's not that way.
It's not.
You are
They're unique
provided
in
to
their
be
own
that
way.
much more interactive and productive.
Yeah.
So I think that is where we should stress, which means celebrate your femininity. Rather than say that I am a woman, become more feminine in everything you do. Whether the way you talk, the way you carry yourself, the way even you conduct. If these little things are bought in, the woman will respect her femininity more and more vibrant will become the feminine.
True.
not suffer like what is happening now. Now they are feeling the strain,
Yeah.
you know. So now part two, you were talking about the challenges. Yes, now they work in the same environment that a man works. So the deadlines are the same, the working hours are the same. Many a time the working hours extend much beyond because there are many who are still responsible for their house and hearth and children. House husbanding hasn't become that common yet. So it's like they are on overload. So
Yes.
because of that overload also a woman suffers a lot. Okay?
Yeah.
Yes. If you ask me, are there ways and means yoga and Ayurveda offer? Of course there are.
Yes.
How? Can we discuss as we go ahead? I
Yes.
hope I've answered the question.
Yes,
Yeah?
definitely. Just adding on to what you mentioned, these are the similar issues which the women who reach out to us for the yoga courses, especially the one which we offer, like you mentioned at the beginning, SakhyaM, which is a course which is specially designed for the women in mind, particularly. When they reach out to us asking how they can get the help, and when we ask what is that you're looking for, and most of them mention what you just spoke about, that they have multiple responsibilities to handle. Even though they say that yes, we can do this, we go out, we build our career, we share what the skills for what we can offer with lot of confidence. Somewhere internally, like you mentioned, because of the more responsibilities that they have, which is built in, their own personal well-being has taken a backseat. And that's where they reach out to systems like yoga or Ayurveda, asking how we can help them. So, in the field of yoga, again, they mention about different, mostly about concept of Shakti, wherein this entire, like you mentioned, creation. The entire creation is represented as feminine energy. So the common theme which we see when they reach us out is, even though they are happy to expand themselves, their responsibilities, somewhere within them they are lacking that self-confidence, like you rightly mentioned. It is okay to express my femininity. I need to, it is more about they are looking for tools which can help them to be by themselves and still, be a part of the society outside. And that is where courses like SakhyaM would help them, personally feel, that to build that confidence in the person, the practices which are offered, like different set of asanas, especially focusing on their reproductive system, like you mentioned. It is more focus. The one which is a unique aspect for women is the ability to create, and hence it becomes very important for them to take care of the reproductive system. So these courses wherein the focus is more on how they can take care of their entire health, especially focused on the reproductive system, would definitely help them to tackle the challenges which they are facing. So I would like to know how, from the Ayurveda point of view, it can be helped.
So I'm going to say something which may not, I don't know how accepted it is. Everything, there is nature, right?
Yeah.
Swabhava. Okay. So what is the nature of the reproductive system?
To create.
To reproduce, right?
Yeah.
Today, most of the women don't want to have children, maybe at the right age, or they want to delay it for a period of time. So, what will the reproductive system do? It will perform its swabhava, which is to create. So, since a baby is not getting created, what will it create? It will create endometriosis, it will create fibroids, it will create cysts. It has to create. Now, you're stopping me from creating, but I have to do what I have to do. So, my understanding is that many of these so-called gynecological problems derive from this factor of what do I say, preventing the natural. That's what is happening. That's one side. The other side is that there is too much. Now we have hormones. Similarly, there's a lot of hormones being introduced into food, either to make it better, more nutritionally more viable, or faster yields, whatever it be. It may be from a chicken to a brinjal, but it's happening. So, what we call puberty or menarche is happening ahead of the time frame. So, nature has created it in such a beautiful way that menarche to menopause, there is a 38-year to 40-year gap. Now, that is getting played around with. So, that is one of the main reasons why there are gynecological problems. Of course, when we practice certain yogic techniques, like in the form of pranayama, in the form of asanas, even in the form of dietetics, like as I told you, I said woman is heat.
Yeah.
So a woman naturally should be inclined to take food which is not very spicy, food which is more cooling for the body. So Yoga and Ayurveda will say consume more cow's ghee. Do not have curd, but have lots of ghee. It will similarly say use kumkum. Why? Because it immediately, when you apply it to the ajna, which is one space from where heat is radiating, it will cool the body immediately. Or apply good oil onto the head, scalp. Today, how many girls apply oil? They all like these flyaway, dry, stalk-like hair. You know? So where is the nourishment for the body? Where is the cooling happening? Then they like to wear tight jeans. The uterine area should be kept. We say even in a massage, you shouldn't apply a pressure there. Yeah. So it's such a sensitive, delicate area. Now you're trying to tie it all up. So there are various subtle things, but I think a subtle way of putting it across will help. So I feel women should educate the women.
True.
So maybe through SakhyaM, Shakti, the effort should be there.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing up that point of women helping women. Like you mentioned earlier, in the process of being aggressive in proving one's presence in the world outside, somewhere women have lost that connection with a fellow woman. And like you mentioned, if at all, especially the elders in the family, if they could influence the younger generation, explaining the importance of why all these are required, to a great extent, it would definitely help the coming generation. And one of the queries which we get more often is the younger generation is getting into a lot of gynecological issues at a very young age. And if this won't get addressed right now, as we progress over the years, it might become more very common, which is being happening right now, maybe in few pockets. So
no, I think it's very evident. If you just turn around and look at the number of infertility or IVF centers around your city, it'll tell you what is happening. A natural phenomenon called conception and childbirth is needing assistance world over. Why?
True.
So it's already there. There's a little shift that I want to tell you. I think it's no longer the role of the family. Families have become very nuclear. It's more societies, more groups, more organizations like maybe BYVK, which can help there.
Yeah.
So they are coming with the purpose of addressing. So then when you provide them the wherewithal to do it, then it becomes much easier. And then when you form a community and they see that each one is benefiting from the other, definitely it's going to become a mass movement.
Yeah.
And that one person will take the same message to another woman, you see?
Yeah.
So that's the best way to go about it. Maybe convents or schools where girl children are educated, maybe we should begin with Satsang Foundation here. Teach them habits, which will ensure that their femininity is preserved. I mean, let it not all be about teaching them how to make a living. Let it be how to live life.
Yeah.
that subtle difference will take them a long way. So maybe we run courses of yoga and Ayurveda where they teach them how to ensure that they are nourished well, and that even in behavior you just raise your voice, you don't become bigger. You can achieve the same thing by calmly talking, bringing in the mother in you, or bringing in the woman in you. I think that there we will do a lot of work like that.
Yes.
Yeah, so today we are at the threshold where there are more women leaders than ever before. So they also have their own struggles, but at the end of the day, they need to be successful in their role responsibility, right? So, in addition to being the nourishing or the nourishment, as we have been, what do I say, modeled for, we are taking on the role responsibility in a way of a hunter-gatherer also, which is essentially the male's role. So here what happens is that she's going to extend herself. Now she's going into a world where she's also has to deal with the what do I say, the shifts of running an organization, helming an organization, bringing in the desired results from the organization. So basically she could be a CFO or a CEO of a company. So there she's no longer just a woman, okay, she's the leader. So then what happens there? Now there is an interesting thing. So alongside all her femininity, she's going to bring in a lot more leadership qualities. Now, leadership qualities also do come naturally to women, because you will see matriarchs, you will see queens when they were there. But today it is a little more challenging, a little more complex, because there are a lot more stress-inducing factors. It could even be something as simple as traveling from A to B, crossing over time zones, looking after a family at home. There would be a child who's sick at home, and she has to have run this conference somewhere in New York. Her child is in hospital, maybe say in Chennai, but still she has to manage. So it goes without saying that the stress levels are tremendous. Now here I feel yoga will definitely help, because I'm yet to come across any technique that can, with pranayama, bring down the stress hormones drastically. Of course, along with exercises, but I think there are a lot of asanas, which I'm sure you should explain to us, which can help in this category.
Definitely. In the yoga philosophy, they talk about how the body and the mind are very closely interconnected. And especially in case of women, the mind element is much more volatile than compared to a man. And hence, practices of asanas and pranayama help a woman to work with her body and mind complex much more effectively. Especially in, like you mentioned, when they are handling multiple roles, be it at home or outside, and handling such influencing roles in corporates or in any field of work. And if they are really going through a lot of stress, then that definitely equally we can conclude that they are not able to give their best, contribute to their best. And practices which in courses like SakhyaM, which we focus on, not just about women working on their reproductive system, but yoga as a philosophy is a holistic system wherein it works both on the body and the mind. And hence, the practices like Pavana Muktasana series, which are included in the SakhyaM course, help to build in at the body level, strengthen the joints of every joint of a woman, especially for those who go through the menopause state, where it becomes very difficult for them to have healthy joints because of the decreasing in the calcium production in the body. And practices like Pavana Muktasana help them to strengthen the joints. And if you take other practices like lying down on their stomach, Bhujangasana or Shalabhasana, helps to build strength on the spine, and not only on the spine but also in their abdomen region, which is a very big contributor in a woman's health. And if we come to pranayama, to tackle the mind, especially for women who tend to have much more volatile and very
Emotional.
active emotional mind, practices like Nadi Shodhana or simple practices like abdomen breathing, Brahmari. So, all these practices help them to calm down their mind, ground themselves, and center themselves. When they practice all this over a period of time, definitely it needs constant practice to get the result. They can one can see a shift in their body becoming not just flexible but also healthy. At also the mind level, they are more grounded, more centered, more calm, and like you mentioned, to express their presence in the world outside, they don't have to change their characteristics of behavior. Just by being themselves, they can still present themselves to the best way possible.
So basically, you want to say that it brings out essentially the best
The
version
best,
of yourself.
yes, definitely.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Now, interestingly, you said Pavana Muktasana. Of course, I know, the Bhujangasana, everything. There's one thing from the Ayurvedic perspective. This, those are the seat. The feminine reproductive organ is in the seat of the Apana Vayu. So when the Apana Vayu is what do I say, flowing the right way, then the functions of those organs will also become normal. So
Yes.
that's one of the reasons why women are made to do these asanas, which are more, forward bending
Yes.
or lifting of the feet, where you're exercising the apana vayu.
Yes, definitely. That plays a major role
Yes.
in working
Yes.
with the digestive system,
Yes.
which is also a major contributor in how the woman's body functions.
Yeah. Now today even modern medicine acknowledges it, but Ayurveda always said that your gut is your brain.
Gut is your brain.
Yeah.
Yes.
So everything begins in the gut.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
So, I mean, if we could put together, a kind of a solution or a working through the different phases of womanhood, I would say that it all begins with menak, right? Even the number of eggs are all predetermined. It's
Yeah.
already there, you know
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
So, if you look at India, see, many things in India have just been lost saying it's traditional, but it's an absolute science. So, in most parts of India, when a woman or a child rather goes into menak or puberty, you will see that they give the child a lot of sesame. Now, sesame has this potential where it is, we call it anulomana, which means it moves along the natural flows of the body. It strengthens the bones. It's an absolute, what do I say? We call it Brahmana. Brahmana means to nourish to the optimum. So these properties are there. So we usually, and then jaggery. Now today we have understood that jaggery keeps up your hemoglobin level at the optimum. So there was this practice that for a certain number of days, the child is kept without indulging in much movement. The flow is happening naturally. She is fed very nourishing food, and she's more than anything else. I think this is a point we need. A woman needs to be cherished.
Yeah.
So she's made to feel like a princess. That was very important. So in between somewhere in the name of, modernization, oh, these are all archaic customs, but that's not it. So making her feel special, making her feel not dirty, but that something beautiful is happening to her, really reversed the whole process.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning. Now, some communities give eggs, but most communities will give a fair amount of millets, jaggery, sesame. So this strengthens the complete reproductive system and also ensures that the hormones are all kind of getting perfectly secreted. Because the female growth hormones will go up, luteinizing hormones, follicle stimulating hormones, everything undergoes a kind of, it's as though a matchbox is lit suddenly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then thereon begins her journey. So at this stage, what do you think would help, take this process forward?
From the yoga perspective, like you rightly mentioned, it's like a ball of fire going within a woman when she's going through the puberty state. And hormones play a very vital role in a human being, definitely in case of women. And if we look at any of the yogic texts, the constant reference in all of the yogic text is about how all the asanas and pranayamas bring about the change in the endocrine system, which is majorly contributing to the hormonal balance within the body. So, especially in case of women, during when they are going through this process of puberty, if they are introduced to asanas or pranayama, like for example, we have one asana called Trikonasana as part of SakhyaM, which is covered, which is kind of gives them that strength or stability at the body level, but it is more to do at the mind. It builds in that confidence to go through this change, like you mentioned, without feeling uncomfortable within oneself or feeling questioning what is happening within oneself. That would definitely add in as a support system for them to go through this shift in a much more effectively.
So I think now on maybe Sakyam and the Shakti program could also include an element of counseling this way. Now they do learn about what happens, through modern physiology. Maybe it is important to even, add these softer aspects. Why do pranayama? Why do certain asanas? Why eat certain things? And more importantly, this is also a stage where they are very aware of their physicality.
Yeah.
So this is the time when there's a lot of hair, they break into pigmentation, acne, pimples. So the necessity, the crux is cleanliness, internal and external. So I think these need to be included, which I find is missing. Maybe we could include all that.
Definitely, that would be
Yeah.
a good combination.
Yes. So, Vanitha, now when children, mature, there is that stage, from puberty till say about midlife, like about in their 30s. So their set of problems are different. There's emotional outbursts, there's weight gain, they feel, body odor, so many things like that. So systematically, to look at the focus for the mind, focus for the body, focus for calming themselves. Can you give a kind of a routine that BYVK does through SakhyaM?
Yes, definitely. Nowadays, generation, especially in the phase what you mentioned, they go through a lot of self-confidence issues or very aware of their own physicalities, the changes that they go through, and somewhere the comparison comes in, wherein oh, she is more beautiful than me, she is much more thinner than me, I am fat, or I don't look good, etc. And even though we all know internally that this may or may not be true, but the support system is to be provided to go through this phase in a much more healthy way. And practices like we have few practices in standing postures, balancing asanas like Vrikshasana, which helps one to ground themselves and not get carried away by these various emotions, turmoil that they go through with different negative thoughts. So practices like Vrikshasana help them to ground themselves and calm themselves down, bring their focus more centered and more positive and productive. And from pranayama perspective, practices like Nadi Shuddhi help to channel the energies within them in a much more harmonious way, which in turn helps to calm their mind down. Overall, if we look at them as pieces, it may not make sense as to how this helps. But when they do this as a daily routine, certain asanas, certain pranayama, and if they are still feeling very agitated and disturbed, follow it up with practices like Yoga Nidra, which helps them to calm each and every part of their body. At the same time, it helps them to calm down their breath and the mind. So once they follow this combination, this routine over a period of time, they can definitely see the shift on how they perceive themselves. They'll feel more confident to accept themselves how they are, embrace themselves, like you mentioned earlier. The challenge is to accept myself as I am, which most of the women find it difficult, especially in this phase where there's so much of bodily shifts going on. So once they go through this kind of routine over a period of time, definitely they can look at themselves with much more happiness and more acceptance towards themselves, and they are okay to see the world with a fresh perspective. They are ready to see the world with fresh perspective and much more less judgmental towards oneself, not being too critical towards oneself, and saying, yes, this is a natural phenomena of nature which happens for every woman, so is it for me.
Yeah, so here on an Ayurvedic perspective, I will say that very simple things. Like when the child goes in to have a bath, give her a piece of lemon and tell her to wash her private areas, underarms, with an additional rub of it in addition to the soaps they use. One. Two, oiling their body. Oiling their body regularly. If mother is willing, the mother gives an oil bath. She feels so much more cherished.
Yeah.
Okay, these are very simple things. Then to avoid oily or very fatty food, especially animal products. The less animal products are consumed, the less smelly is the sweat. So when they go through that phase, if these little things, give them good quality ghee, like cow's ghee on a daily basis, so the body heat is maintained. Then allow them to use little bit of basin and turmeric mixed, because this is the time lot of hair, facial, body hair, superficial hair grows. So if they're taught to just apply and then rub it in the opposite direction and have a bath, in about 6 months you will see that the quality or the thickness of the hair reduces naturally. So these little natural applications will really take them a long way. And more important than anything else, I think the feeling of being loved. I think this is the time where, working or not, the presence of family members around them is very, very important. Yeah. There's no substitute for that. Yeah. So, just to sum it all up, I think this is a very crucial time in the life of a young woman. She forms a lot of ideas. She looks at herself in a different perspective. She's, stepping on to the launch pad, to take her to the horizons she wants. So, the people around her, the kind of, confidence they give her, they build in her, allow her to build herself, and introduce practices or disciplines in life where cleanliness is very important. The fact that your body is your temple, so you have to look after it in a particular way, along with a routine of maybe a yogic practice on a daily basis. Anything and everything you do systematically in life is actually Ayurveda. Waking up at a particular time, brushing your teeth as soon as you wake up, trying to empty your bowels, applying oil on your body, eating moderately, not more than 2 or maximum 3 times a day, indulging in exercise every day, and reading. You may not believe it if you take the text. One of the most important things they say is Dhi Dhairya Atmadi Vidya Vijnanam, which means on a daily basis, one has to read things about courage, about things of spiritual importance, and also understand about anything that makes one courageous. This is needed on a day-to-day life. So if these kind of things are provided and she is set with a supportive family and also a plan, like helping her reach out to the stars that she imagines wherever they are, I think that is what yoga and Ayurveda can together provide.
Definitely. Just adding on to that, the concept of courage, like you mentioned, it would be very crucial for them to get the right guidance on how to use that courage. Sometimes they might misinterpret as the aggressive part which you mentioned initially.
Yeah,
so having that the right guidance in combination with all the support system, presenting that courage in a way which is more productive for themselves and for the society, definitely would add a lot of value to this.
Yes. Yeah, so Vanitha, I feel like we spoke about, the puberty, the beginning of womanhood. But I feel that the maximum challenge that a woman faces is in her midlife, say from about 25 to 30 to about 50, where she touches menopause. Now, this is the most action-filled time of her years. Here she is going into the role of a woman in multifold. Like she's on the one hand getting married, delivering, setting into her career, building up her career, building up her home, at the same time observing the shifts that are happening in her physical body. Sometimes she doesn't feel good about herself because she hasn't had the time to take care of herself. The profession is so demanding, the family is so demanding. So I think this is a time frame where a lot of inputs and support from maybe traditional systems like yoga and Ayurveda are required. So maybe you could tell about how yoga can fit in and help make this process a little more gentle, and then I'll give a feedback on how Ayurveda could help with it.
Definitely. Some of the queries which we get inquiring about SakhyaM course is addressing this particular point you brought forward, wherein women who are working in the corporates or any other field of the chosen career, they are struggling to deal with their family responsibilities as well, doing justice to the outside job responsibilities that they take on. And the constant feedback inputs we get from them is, how do I balance both? And I am kind of taking my own health is taken a backseat in the process of trying to prove something outside, which is equally important for me, but as well as taking care of my family. Before I go into the practice, also important is to mention the role of the thyroid gland, wherein like we discussed earlier, the endocrine system plays a major role in a woman's health. And in this process of handling both personal and profession, sometimes women don't get to express themselves because of the surrounding environment, or they don't have that self-confidence within themselves to voice. Whatever could be the reason, they tend to suppress their emotions. And whenever the suppression happens, like you already know, in Ayurveda also they talk about it, how it impacts the thyroid functioning. And same is seen in the recent today's women, wherein they come with various imbalance issues with the thyroid gland. So practices like Ushtrasana, Bhujangasana, or Setubandhasana, which are taught, they say they help to balance, bring about this balance in the thyroid gland. Once this balance is brought in within the woman, the way they express, the way they project themselves outside also can be seen. It is more of a positive shift. So instead of going through a stressed induced response, it is more of knowing what I'm supposed to say, where I'm supposed to say, how do I handle. So in this way, asanas definitely help to handle the situation. So are the practices in pranayama like Brahmari or Nadi Shuddhi. Just by doing these practices regularly, bring about that balance which is majorly missing in cases like this. So put together, they definitely offer a solution for the situation. So I'm sure in Ayurveda also there are quite a few which can help.
Yeah, in Ayurveda, yoga is part of Ayurveda, or rather, Ayurveda derives from yoga. So we say that a routine is very important. You need to ground yourself. It could be through, it has to be through pranayama. There has to be certain practices which is asana based. Then there has to be, as I said, a routine where people don't give much importance, but bathing is supposed to be the best way to lighten yourself. Cleaning your tongue is supposed to be the best way you can increase the agni. So just like how we have a fire outside, a dhuni, we are taught to believe that there is a dhuni inside. We call it the jaఠaragni. That needs to be preserved at all times. Now in this fast-paced world, one of the things that women do is they start the day without eating anything. They're in such a hurry to get to their office or feed their children or prepare the meal. They just run out without, looking after themselves. So I think timely nutrition into themselves first. It's best that they feed themselves and then feed their child. So they have to look after themselves. That's very important. And then women at this stage tend to, maybe because of interaction, they always have this that I'm not as good as. So this comparison needs to be cut. That you are the best version of yourself. That needs to be really strengthened. by self-affirmation as well as by moving with a group that will support you in this. That's very important. I consider that also satsang. It's not just the spiritual, the kind of crowd you move with. And then setting goals which are achievable. If something is beyond you, there's nothing wrong in just letting go. The world is not going to label you as a failure. It's primarily we who label ourselves as failures and successes. So if you want to become the CEO of a company and you don't really make it there, it doesn't matter.
You are no less.
No, you're no less because you have done your best. So the thing of doing our best is more important than labeled achievements. Is what I think is very important. And then where health of the body is concerned, we have to take regular treatments. Ayurveda refers to various detoxification methodologies at the physical level, at the physiological level, which is structured and available. Now there's so much of information about Ayurveda, and you have ArogyaM next door. You can always inquire with us. We have various programs that are systemic detox for the body. It could even be one massage once a month. It really brings in a detox. So that has to be, done, and more detox of the mind. I think we hold a lot within our minds, women especially. So there has to be a mental detox. And I feel the best way for a mental detox is to chant something, a regular chanting, okay, which will really, really help detox the mind. Because in Ayurveda, we say in the body we have 3 doshas, Vata, Pitta and Kapha. But the mind has 2 more, Rajas, Tamas cha manasau, Dvau cha dosha, Hridahridau. Which means we have to be more careful about the mind and what we retain.
Definitely.
The malinas of the mind. Yeah. So there, practices like Brahmari definitely help.
Yes.
Because it does help nullify or bring down the voices in the head to a large extent. Yes. And I think more important than that, we all have to believe that we are all doing our best. Let nobody run us down or bring us down. That is important. And right diet is very important. So basically, limit animal food. Ayurveda is not a science that says no non-vegetarian. No. It says whatever you eat, eat with awareness, eat moderately, eat during the right time, and eat what you can digest. Do not eat more than what you can digest. So if we follow these principles and also reduce emotions within, especially aggression. I think we are more aggressive towards ourselves. I use the word aggression not in relevance or in relative to the outer world. I feel we are most aggressive towards ourselves. So that we need to learn to understand. And one more thing that the corporate world or the world today provides us on a platter is not being able to trust. That trust becomes a big issue. Now, when we are unable to trust outwardly, the same distrust we develop towards ourselves, which means I am distrusting every cell in my body. That is why there are so many autoimmune diseases now, because my cell is looking at me as an enemy.
Yeah.
So I'm sure even with SakhyaM you will be seeing a lot of women are coming with autoimmune profiles. Yes. Now the reason is this. Because of the distrust in the outer world, they are distrusting themselves. And that is a serious area which really needs to be worked on together, together. Ayurveda and yoga really need, and I think the solution lies there. Wherever it is autoimmune, modern sciences are not able to do much now. Maybe later on they will find their methodologies, but right now, no.
I guess it goes to say that both the philosophies of yoga and Ayurveda, there's one common connecting thread is looking at more what is happening within me and dealing with it.
Interestingly, the first thing is the first yama, ahimsa.
Ahimsa, yeah.
That ahimsa towards yourself is the first step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all about what is happening within me,
Yes.
how do I deal with
Yes.
it, and if I am able to deal with this, then the outside is taken care.
Yes.
So the outside world may not change, but again and again they repeat that once the shift happens within me, being having more clarity in thoughts, more understanding of myself, my mind, my behavior, my patterns, I'm able to have that clarity in me on how I can handle the life outside.
Yes, you're
So
right.
that is one common thread I see between both yoga and
Yes,
Ayurveda.
I agree
It's
with
more
you.
inward focus.
I agree with you. So, Vanitha, I don't know whether you're aware that there is a whole lot on beautifying and anti-aging in Ayurveda. I mean, the most famous, of course, is Kaya Kalpa, which not many people know of, but and which is very difficult. But there is this whole category called Varnya in Ayurveda. Varnyam means to beautify. Even something as simple as Abhyanga or massage, one of the benefits is supposed to be that your skin becomes younger, your musculature becomes younger, you become more agile. So, here the beauty is very much linked to the quality of your body. So, whenever they use the word beauty, it also means quality of the body, quality of your emotions, quality of your reflexes. This is what is highlighted. Now, today you look at, you just have to open the internet and you will see, from Botox to collagen to hyaluronic acid and pigmentations to improve your eyebrows and everything. Yes, some aspects are okay, but there are many which are a health hazard also. Because I don't know how many know that Botox was initially bought in as a treatment for paralysis, and then paralyzing to make it look firm became the norm. So there are many negative sides to it. But there is that innate need, especially because we are more active and in a functional society much longer than before, that we need to look a particular way, we need to dress a particular way, only then we feel confident. So maybe a slight shift in our thought process is required, where we should, not want to become wax dolls, but become better versions of ourselves that can age gracefully and at the same time have a great quality to life. I mean, that is a shift in perception. But I assure you that Ayurveda talks about so many things, from for maintaining the black pigments in the hair longer. Like they use indigo, it's called Neeli. It's their Neeli Bringadi. You may have heard of the oil. Or they have Pamantaka, which is basically curry leaves, because these give pigmentation to the oil. And if you regularly use it, naturally you will have a blackish hue. Your hair won't become black, but it will become blackish. Similarly, there are oils like Mahamasha, Kumkumadi, which is supposed to make your facial skin look very young. And if I remember my grandmother at 70, she had excellent skin. She had never used a soap in her life. The only thing she would do is apply oil every day. They had this kind of a bark of a tree, we call it inja. I don't know what it is, what its Sanskrit name is. So it would look like a brush. So only that in water was what they used to scrub their face. And of course, now a lot of companies are bringing in age old traditions. Or if you just use oatmeal or even your idli dosa batter, just take a little and wash your face. You'll see so much of a difference than using a soap. So there are many things like that. Honey, good quality honey is excellent on the skin. And it may be interesting that there are oils like Loma Ropana Tailam, which means it will remove hair, body hair. So if you apply it over a period of time, it will decrease the hair growth on the body. So even something as simple as Anjana Vidhi, lining your eyes with kohl, it was not restricted to the women. Men also did kohl lining. And many parts of the Western, Mediterranean, the men still do that. And the benefits are that your eye, the vision, you'll never get cataract. Okay? Even the shloka that we all chant from the Guru Stuti, Ajnana Timirandasya, that is Anjana Vidhi from Sushruta Samhita, where if you apply collyrium, then Chakshur Unmilitam Yena, the cataract will be removed. Of course, here they are crediting it to the Guru, but the technique is from the Sushruta Samhita. So, these were the So they say your lashes will grow beautifully. So everything has a beautifying aspect to it. I mean, that's how many things. The beauty is that Ayurveda never undermined the need of physically looking good. I think that we have forgotten. Actually, all women, I think this is a message I want to give women. After snana in Ayurveda, our granthas say that you should adorn your face. You should apply kohl, you should chew betel, make your lips red, apply sindoor, man and woman. Wear bright clothes, non wrinkled clothes, colorful clothes. If there is a tear or a dent, please throw it out. Adorn yourself with fragrances, with flowers. This is mentioned. And says finally you look at a vessel with oil and look at your reflection and enjoy yourself before you step out. So everything was done for the self. Now slowly the focus has shifted to the outside. So even when SakhyaM talks to us about spirituality, about looking in, this is also looking in. It's for yourself. It's not for
External
no,
world.
no,
Yeah.
no. That was never the focus.
True.
So I think the minute we do this as a focus, as an offering to ourselves, everything else will start looking beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a whole range of beautifying techniques also in Ayurveda, which has not been explored that much, but maybe we all can look into it now. Yes.
Yeah. Definitely.
Simple things like rubbing your feet against a rough surface to remove cracks was very important. It was done. They used to clean, apply turmeric. It was all part of the day-to-day maintenance of the body. So these we have forgotten. Maybe it's nice to have a relook.
Talking about how yoga can help here, most of the time the students who come looking for yoga as a supporting system, one of the reasons they give is I want to lose weight. Using yoga as a way to become thin, become lean, lose weight, look good, etc. So how does yoga help here? Like we discussed earlier, yoga techniques all focus on working on each and every system internally. So which means that all our internal, especially the endocrine system or the digestive system, all the systems in the body, all the yogic practices help to bring the optimal functioning of all these systems. So when one continues to practice the asanas or pranayama over a period of time, you can see the shift at the physical level. What is happening in their mind, definitely we cannot understand. But at the physical part of it, we can see that the body, they look healthy physically, and there is lightness to that body, and they have very clear skin, their vision is very clear, or they have a very healthy way of walking. Even the way they walk, it's different, you can make out the difference. And the way they function, they present themselves is completely different from those who do not follow this particular routine. Practices like pranayama, nadi shuddhi for example, if we take, what happens is, even though we say it is bringing about balance in the energies, at the physical level, when we practice these pranayama techniques, it helps to increase the oxygen within the body, take out all the carbon dioxide or all the toxins which are accumulated at different parts of the body. These practices help to remove the toxins, be it pranayama or asana, all of them are aiming at that, to remove the toxins and making space for more oxygen to take into the system. Now, the more we take in oxygen, it helps to supply rich nutrition to each and every cell of the body. And hence, if we read the stories of the yogis, or even today, if we look at SakhyaM, he doesn't look the age he is, because he's been practicing yoga since childhood till now. It's a classic example of how yoga and all the yogic practices can bring in a positive shift in the physical part, including yourself. Look at yourself, you look so beautiful and young.
Thank you. So, Vanitha, we discussed about, children moving into puberty, then the midlife, issues of a woman. But we did not mention about the menopausal period, which is the really strenuous part for a woman.
Yes.
They go through a lot at that time, more physically and mentally than otherwise.
Yes.
So can you give us an overview of how you would look at it through yoga, or what are the practices at BYVK that you encourage?
Definitely. In yoga, they do offer quite a few practices which addresses menopause issue, and some of the queries which we get from women who are going through menopause are, like you mentioned, they go through a lot of body and mental shifts, and they look for how they can get some help from the yogic practices. So in asanas specifically, we have specific practices which focus on each and every joint in the body from head to toe. Especially the focus for those who are going through menopause would be on their joints. Like you already know that the production of the calcium takes a hit when a woman goes through the menopause phase, and also the hormonal imbalance is definitely predominant. So practices which help to strengthen their joints, and some practices like going through Uttana Padasana, like leg raises or cycling, or practices like Setu Bandhasana, or lying on their abdomen and doing practices like Bhujangasana, Shalabhasana. There are so many practices, asanas, which help them to work with this hormonal imbalance and also strengthen their joints. And coming to pranayama, practices like Nadi Shuddhi definitely helps them to calm their mind. Especially in case of cases like menopause, there is a lot of emotional turmoil a woman goes through because they don't understand what is happening within their body and they don't know how to deal with it. So practices like Yoga Nidra is definitely a strong tool to use, wherein doing this regularly on a day-to-day basis help them to calm their body and also mind to a larger extent.
From an Ayurvedic point of view, I would say that this is the time that there is a complete riot in the body.
Yeah.
This is the time where hormones are all misbehaving. Each one is feeling, like I'm better off now. Yeah. Also the time when women are closing into menopause, so there may be fibroids, there may be many issues like endometriosis, etc., etc. And there is a lot of calcium depletion, as you said. So a very simple technique is applying kumkum. I would say it ensures that calcium depletion does not happen, essentially because it is the shell cal which is mixed with turmeric that becomes kumkum. And so that is why it is very important that you apply kumkum. Now another thing what I would suggest is that go high on ghee, clarified butter of pure cows. Pure cow's ghee is very important for a woman to tide her over. Now there's a very important herb also. It's something very common. It's called aloe vera. In Ayurveda or in Sanskrit, it's called Kumari. Kumari means a youthful woman, right? So that is the woman's best friend. So inculcate it into your diet. You can have it in the form of juices or in the form of as a vegetable or medicated decoctions, but you need aloe vera on a regular basis. So Ayurveda, you have Kumari Asavam, Sukumaram, Kashayam, so many varieties or Punarnavadi. There are many medicines which we say that from the time you become hit pre-menopause, it's very important to ensure that you take something. And this is also the time where you feel very vulnerable emotionally, very underconfident. So this is also the time once more to nurture the woman. Yeah. So the nurturing will happen through friends, through family, or through whatever we are very passionate about. So find a profession that really takes your interest, or a hobby that will, really help you tide through, but it is very important. Now, one thing I am not very much for is that now they do a lot of hormone replacement therapy. I feel try the natural way only, and if only it does not work, try other methodologies. Many a time a hysterectomy can be avoided if we step in with the right treatment procedures. And Ayurveda here offers a lot. So my request is, please try Ayurveda before you look at any, invasive methodologies. And again, the simple technique of oiling your body, eating nourishing food, doing things that you like will help you through this age. Now, joint pains, this becomes a reality because there is loss of what we call synovial fluids. Yeah. So all the fluids in the body are also going to reduce. Now this is what we call Vata Kala, or the windy, dry phase of our life. So any sustenance, any nourishment is getting pulled out. So this is the best time to oleate. So the best way is to apply oil. Nicely have, abundance of oil internally and externally. Good quality cold pressed oils and ghee will never increase your cholesterol levels. If you are doing very, informed eating habits, that will never push up your cholesterol. It is what goes on along with it that causes all these excesses in the body. So good exercise, stretching is very important. We advise physiotherapy, especially sports physio has reached its zenith now. The way every sport has become a strength against your own self. So learn any kind of sports physio depending on which organ or which part of your body is involved. Do that and keep a very active, healthy mind and a healthy body, and I'm sure we all will tide over it beautifully. So as we end this discussion between Vanitha and myself, I think the time has come to kind of put it across that it's high time we introduce yoga and Ayurveda into various aspects of our lives in the form of workshops, in the form of educative series, in the form of lessons, in the form of practices, so that women, not only women, I think everyone will, they will benefit from it. And if you go back to whatever we discussed, you'll realize that most of these things are not new to us, but it is not put across in a systematic way. It is not emphasized in our growing years. So when that emphasis happens, when it becomes part of education, then I think we take it in and practice it with greater seriousness. More workshops and interactive sessions on yoga and Ayurveda are encouraged by the corporates, schools, colleges, even families, if they would come together to get counseled on how to have a healthy lifestyle, healthy thought processes, healthy communication. I think a lot of shifts will happen in our day-to-day life. And I really look forward to that day.
So, yes, ma'am, like you mentioned very rightly, what we have also seen based on the queries we get for our courses, people come looking for shortcuts. How can I lose weight in a span of 10 days, just joining a 10-day course? Or how can I become physically more beautiful? How can I take care of my health issue by just practicing for a week or two? That mindset shift has to happen, wherein we are not looking for something as an instant gratification, but practices which can help me to sustain in the long run, not just physically but mentally, but also to live a fuller life, healthy and fuller life. If we look at systems like yoga and Ayurveda, they are so full of rich content, such treasure house which is in-house in our own country available. Unfortunately, the awareness is not spread like you mentioned in the outside world. So systems like, or institutions like education institutes or corporates which can promote this kind of awareness within their own system and help to spread this importance of how beautiful systems we have. This will definitely help society in a long run, and definitely women in particular, helping each other, fellow women, be it a fellow sister or a mother or a colleague or a friend who knows, definitely these two systems put together can offer a beautiful life for a person to lead. To start with, a shift of the mind has to happen.
We will end the program by a little prayer which we said at the beginning, Yogena Chittasya. There are three ways that every human being can express. One is through words, the other is through thoughts, and the third is by action. The prayer is very familiar to you. We have Patanjali behind us. So the prayer is Yogena Chittasya, through yoga, the mind. Padena Vacha. How? Through words, speech. Through words, speech. And Malam Sharirasya cha Vaidyakena. All the dirt of the body through the Vaidya. Yopam Karotam Pravaram Munina. The one who does, who is the highest amongst the Munis or the Rishis. Who is he? Patanjalim Pranjali Ranatosmi. So in short, it is Patanjali who wrote the Yoga Sutras, who gave us Sanskrit grammar and who gave us Ayurveda. So that is the actual interminable connect between the three. And who is he? He is Nagaraja. So he say Hartre Ahipataye Nama, which means he is the Nagaraja. So that is the intrinsic, inseparable truth. Thank you. Om Hrim Shri Gurubhyo Namah.